Again, thanks, James, for that introduction. And it's always great to follow such a series of great speakers. Whenever I listen to Stephen, I mean, how many of us acknowledge we live in one of the great places on the planet? Who would agree, right? Australia. You notice the boats aren't leaving Australia. You notice that? They're not leaving Australia. And whenever we hear the economic story, I always think we just sometimes forget the luxury and the privilege of the country that we live in. So Stephen's reminder was always good. When Chris got up and did the e-pong thing, how many were going, oh yeah, you know, isn't Chris's energy, pooah, right? I can feel my whole energy getting moved. Who here suffers from bandwidth separation anxiety? Anyone suffer from that? Who sleeps with their phone next to their bed? And the first thing you do in the morning is check, right? Did anyone contact me? Am I relevant? You know what's happening in Japan? This is fascinating. Japan and Korea are sending this as a message that it's really uncool to have a mobile phone visible. Like, if you have to have a mobile phone visible at a meeting or in a conference or something, it demonstrates that you haven't quite made it yet. You are still a dependent, that someone is, you have to wait for someone to call you. So there's a whole anti-movement towards the technology, which is kind of interesting. And when it comes to this whole e-pong thing, ExxonMobil are now giving their staff email budgets. How cool is that? You only have a budget for that day, and that includes CC. So anytime you CC somebody and you use up your budget, you're stuck. Guess what you've got to reach for? The phone and face. So Chris is really onto something there. And James's innovation story always reminds us that what we see around us, the possibility of an innovative thought, a way of re-seeing it in a different way, is available to all of us. And all of this, I suppose, leads up to the fact that I'm following these guys, and followership is really what I want to focus on. How many of us acknowledge here that we are invariably, all of us, followers of something? Would you agree? We all follow something. In fact, we follow the formula that is given to us in our culture. Do you know what the formula is? It looks something like this. This can be a bit depressing. You're born, if you're lucky, into a two-parent family. For the first 5-6 years of your life, you learn a language or two, you learn motor skills, you know how to use toilets and so on. But you know what? You have no discrimination. Every single facet of your life in regards to your values, your beliefs, your credo, your moral structure is embedded in the first 7 years. Thomas Aquinas said, give me the child to the age of 7 and I'll give you what? The adult. So that's the formative time. Then you go into the schooling system. Now you've got to learn read and write. You've got to learn new behaviors. You've got another layer of authority to deal with. You've got teachers. You've got to be able to connect with students. You learn things like cooperation and teamwork. And so now you're a child, and now you become a teenager. Remember that? And the hormones kick in. You're going, what the hell's happening here? All right. Now, and at this point, you're now developing some individuality. You think you're kind of unique. You think you're kind of special. And also you're starting to assert yourself as an individual, but also you're trying to make sense of what's happening around you. At this point, someone asks this question. So, what are you going to do with your life? So you make some crap up, don't you? Yeah? Because at this stage, you're just hormonal soup. You have no concept of what's required. And then finally you do leave school. Now you've got 3 choices. You can either go on your gap year, you can go to further study, but inevitably find a job. That seems to be the key. Or at least some economic independence. So finally you do that. That's great. Now you're now a young adult. You're living on your own. You've got your own social networks. And now you've got to find somebody, because that's the next part of the formula. You've got to follow the formula. So you've got to find who? Your soulmate. Fortunately, they're 3 desks away from you. What a coincidence, eh? Of all the people on the planet, there they were. And you say things like, if we hadn't gone to work in the same place, we would never have met. True, you're right. Yeah, so that's correct. All right, so now you go into the 3 M's. You've got now marriage, now you've got mortgage, and now you've got maternity. So now you've got raising kids, you're trying to look after the mortgage, you're trying to manage a career, and you've got to try and handle it. Everything's quite complicated. At this point, you ask, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? Evidently, you've got to have an affair or two. So you've got all of this is going on. All right, so, and his kids eventually grow up. You try and change jobs. You navigate through life. You've got to think about retirement now, because that's part of the deal. Self-managed superannuation funds, watching the dollar and all this sort of stuff. And then finally, you do retire, and there's a banner with your name on it, and people holding cheap champagne and plastic cups and wishing you well. Keep in touch. You know, here's my email address. And you buy the caravan, you drag it around Australia for 4 years, and then you die. What do you reckon? Is that kind of cool? Now, that's the formula that we're supposed to what? Follow. Right? That's embedded in us. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, except this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. That's a 1950s formula. All right, just think about this. I mean, they're right now, what's the time? Oh no, it's way too early now. Some people will be waking up in 2 hours who have got a degree but haven't got a job. And they will wake up before their first bong and hit of the day, and then we're playing games till the afternoon. And then they watch their parents come home looking stressed to the max, going, oh, my manager's such a dickhead. By the way, get a job. Why? You look happy. All right. But they ask you to please follow the formula, right? Follow the formula. Now, if you start thinking about this whole notion of why we should follow, but the fact is we do. We follow fashions, we follow fads, we follow trends, we follow brands. We are followers. We are herd creatures. But yet, everyone starts to bang on about leadership. Right? Who's the leader? And leadership here and leadership there. And endless books and courses and programs on leadership. Now, here is the fallacy. There's a major difference between authority and leadership. And somehow we've merged the two together. Because now I have authority, I'm a manager. Now I have authority because I'm an executive. I'm supposedly now a leader. No. You've got the authority, positional power, and you can have an impact on people's lives, doesn't mean leader. Leader's a whole different beast and is not necessarily related to positional power and authority. In fact, here's the idea, is that a lot of the leadership thinking, as James indicated in terms of innovation, doesn't come from those that are up there on the mantle or in the pantheon. It comes from us in the followership space. Because as a follower, we can have an impact and we can have an influence. So I wonder what it is to me, what it means to be an effective follower. What does it mean to be someone who's a responsible, powerful follower? Because followership is part of the deal. How many of you are employees? You're employed by someone. You're a follower. And you've got to comply to the rules, you've got to comply to the culture, you've got to follow the game. And how to be a follower, an effective, contributing, efficient, happy follower is a key. Now, when people do not understand they have a responsibility as followers, they end up in almost a passive child state. How many of you have ever been disappointed by your leaders? Anyone been disappointed by your leader? All right. Now, when you're disappointed by our leaders, because we invest so much in them. Oh, leader, show me the way. Carve out the vision. Articulate a story that's going to grab me by my gut, heart, and head. Show me the way and resource me. Hold my hand as well and encourage me to attain this beautiful vision that you've articulated. And they very rarely do it. True? Well, they don't. Right? You know why? Because here's one of the great truths in life. Now, I'm 55 now, right? So it took me to my mid-30s to work this out. And if you don't know this, this is gold. You ready? No one anywhere really knows what the hell is going on, right? Agreed? We all just making this shit up. Would you agree? Right? Have you ever been delegated work and you go, yeah, leave it with me, and you get to your desk? I've got no idea, right? Help, right? So we work it out, right? I mean, I sit on 3 boards, man. We don't know what we're doing, right? You read all this stuff, you know, you go through all the papers and everything. You use the word strategically a lot. No? What do you reckon? Well, I think we should approach this strategically. I could not agree with you more. No. You know, have you articulated our vision? Oh, yes, I've got it. It's, how about we are the best providers of the highest quality services and products to the benefit of our customers, our shareholders, and our staff. And let's live by the following values: trust, open, honest communication, respect, integrity, teamwork, and customer centricity. You genius. No. Everyone has exactly the same one, right? Oh, well, what the hell? I don't know why they just don't print them, change logos, and distribute, right? These aren't leadership statements. We don't know what's going on, right? But somehow we invest in our leaders that they're supposed to show us the way, and they're barely coping themselves. So let's talk about what it means to be an effective, efficient follower. Now, again, I would like to share this perhaps graphically, because we all have a good intention to follow. We all somehow articulate a vision for ourselves. So let's take this bloke here, right? So here's a bloke, and he's not looking that happy, right? He's looking like this. And so here's this guy, and he's got a bit of an energy issue, all right? So it's too much in, not enough out. And so he's not what you might call anorexically challenged. You with me? All right, so here's this guy. Now, the issue with this bloke here, it's not size, it's how he feels about himself. And this stage, he's not feeling that great, right? He's not as fit as he used to be. He sees steps and he goes, oh my God, where's an elevator? Or there must be some other way of getting up there. He puts his shoes on in the morning. It's an effort, right? He's not the spunk rat that he used to be, all of that, right? So let's give him a name. What's his name? Sam. All right, so here's Sam. All right, so Sam's not happy. Now, Sam, this is a product of his own system, right? This is a product of the lifestyle he's what? Followed. So now he thinks to himself, I need to have a vision, like leaders do, right? Leaders provide a vision for ourselves. So he can see himself in the future, and he articulates this wonderful vision, and he's looking a lot happier, right? He's much happier than he used to be, and he's looking pretty good. He's even gone to some of those hair places, you know, you can go and get hair. And he's got the look, man. He's got the whole thing. He's got the whole thing happening, right? It's got the thing. So you know, what he's done is, it's a bit Mardi Gras, but you're with me. So he's all right, so he articulates this vision of himself in the future. So now that he's got this plan, now he's got the dream, the question is now, will he follow it? So let's even go more interestingly. We'll go lame and blonde, why not? All right, so there he is. Now, this is the dream, right? So this is the vision that he's articulated for himself, and that's what he wants to attain. So he has an intention that he's going to follow his dream. And we all say that, let's follow the dream. And so what he does, like most of us do, and we've all done this, haven't we? Right? You join Fitness First, pay a year in advance. You buy the new Nikes. You get the new alarm clock. You're ready. You pump. 5 o'clock, you're up, man. You're ready to rock. You got the pedometer. You bought a heart rate monitor because that's important. All right, so now you get to the gym. Now you've got to do a bit of treadie, right? Just warm up a bit. He's a bit stuffed, right? He's got to pick up a few weights. He's got 10,000 steps a day. He's focused, man. Walks to work. It's a bit painful, right? A bit painful that night. And this goes on for a little while, right? Maybe day 1, day 2, day 3. When does the desire for the vision start to lose its luminosity? Where does the attainment of this suddenly go, oh man, you know what? This is too hard, right? And then that moment comes. We all know it, right? Could be 3rd week. And then the voice, you wake up, and the voice in your head goes, you deserve a sleep-in. You've done so well until now. And Macca's for breakfast. It's that quick, right? It's that easy. So what happens, right, is that what stops the person following that vision? And so many people will articulate the vision, but they don't understand the follower dynamic. So in the short time that we're going to have, I'm going to talk about followership from 5 key relationships. If you want to be an effective follower and you get these relationships in place, the ability to attain something that you set for yourself or is set for you, your capacity to work with others in the building of something substantial and visionary starts to become more and more real, more and more practical. Plus, it starts to foster a happier, more vibrant community, because there's nothing worse than a followership which is now stuck in negativity. You know, Chris talked about, you know, toxic guy. Anyone work with, who's ever worked with negative people? Yeah, you've worked with negative people. The people that walk in the morning and they suck the energy out of the room, right? They just sit there like flesh-colored stockings full of pus, right? Is that a bit harsh? That's a bit strong, right? You know, and they, you know, they're the yes but chickens. You know, whenever you make a suggestion, you come up with an innovative idea. What about this? Yes, but yes, but yes, but. Right, the yes but chickens. Right, so they destroy the followership environment. Right, so we've got to be conscious of this. It's political. It is. You know, how many of you find people fascinating? Yeah, how do you find yourselves fascinating? Are you amazed what goes on inside your head at times? Are you disgusted at what goes on inside your head? Human beings, man, we're messy. Well, it's a complex thing. So if you're going to navigate this, you've got to navigate through the minefield of negativity. You've got to deal with the hostility. You've got to deal with the resentments and all of that allow us to get there. So what are these 5 relationships? The first one is this. Make sure you have allies. If you try to do this on your own, it's hard work. Trying to do this on your own, tough. Find allies. And I see this time and time again, and we hear about it in the news, is the whistleblowers. And the whistleblowers get brutalized and punished. Why? They didn't go with allies. Or they tried to find the allies, but they couldn't convince them. If you try and do it on your own, it's incredibly difficult. So this notion of finding the allies, who do you work with that can support you in the attainment? So collectively and together you can achieve this. But here's the trap. Allies are not confidants. Allies are not confidants. How many times have you confided in someone and came to smack you a little bit later? They were an ally, but you went to that level of intimacy which later had a big price to pay. So really watch out for this one. So your allies are colleagues in the journey, and it's contextual. So this is the first one, allies. Second, make sure you form relationships with the authority figures. Those people that are in authority do have power. They have positional power. They can change the rules of the game. So you need to form this alliance. And Chris talked about it beautifully in the sense of make sure the decision makers in the room. But there's this terror of oh, I can't do that. I mean, how can I possibly go and talk to these people? Here's an idea. What's today? Was it Monday? What's Wednesday? Thursday? What's Wednesday? So let's say tonight there's lotto on, all right? There's lotto. And you buy a ticket. And tomorrow morning you discover you have won $5 million. How do you feel? Pretty good. Now, you don't tell anybody. Well, maybe you tell your partner. All right, so you don't go, I'm just going out for milk. All right, so gone. All right, so you won $5 million. Now, you go back to work, right? You've got $5 million in your pocket, but now you walk in, so you don't tell anyone. Metaphorically, you got it there. What happens to office politics? Care factor? 0. What would happen to hierarchy? You can knock on doors of people you wouldn't dare to in the past. Hi, you don't know me yet. Hello. All right. So that mindset, remember, they're just making it up as they go along, right? So this is a really useful thought to know. I thought people knew what they were doing. Big mistake, all right? So when you go and connect with them, it's an adult-adult relationship. Form those connections. It's not sucking up. Forget those old paradigms of tall poppy and that nonsense. This is about finding people to make sure we can deliver something of extreme value. Find a connection with authority. Third, make sure you respect, understand, and manage the casualties. The relationship with casualties is important. Whenever there's change in an organization, whenever there's change in any context, there will be casualties as a result. I've seen this so many times in organizations. Someone is going to lose their job, or there's been the downsizing or someone, and I've seen them, they've gone for that terrible meeting, and they walk out, and you know that they've lost their jobs. And I see people turn their shoulders. I see people go, oh, you're no longer a player. It's like they try and ignore them, marginalize. When you understand and respect the power of what happens with casualties, this shows a deep, profound capacity of empathy. And this resonates powerfully and also demonstrates that it's not about you. It's about the collective. So whilst you have the allies, you've also got to deal with the losses. And the way you deal with people in that context says a lot about character. So understand that is a very important relationship. Fourth, make sure you build good connection, understand and respect the troublemakers. Troublemakers are really the ones who live on the margins, right? The troublemakers, most people try and vilify or condemn. ExxonMobil, fantastic organization, although they do suck out the oil and petrol from third world countries, exploiting villages and leaving their economies destroyed. But apart from that, great company, right? Now they are, and I'm being a little bit facetious, but one of the things I admire about the way that they work is they employ consciously troublemakers. They look for the mavericks, and they bring them into the meetings. They bring them into the rooms because they say they're unsaid. They say the things that no one dares to say. I was having this meeting and this bloke walked in. His face was covered in mud, right? He had gone out in water and covered his face in mud, and he's sitting in the meeting in his suit. And he's one of the designated troublemakers. And people going, what the hell are you doing? He goes, oh, no, it's fine. But you've got mud all over your face. He goes, no. I've just got my makeup on. We said, what do you mean? He said, look at you. Half this room has got mud on their, metaphoric mud on their faces. What are the masks that we're all wearing here today? Bang, right? Everyone just took a breath. Wow, that's a troublemaker. All right, so the troublemakers take you to the edge, and they also give you and inspire courage. And the final relationship that you need to have as a follower is the relationship with yourself. This relationship with self, time to think, time out. Now, here's the question I want to ask all of you. Where's your sanctuary? Do you go and visit your sanctuary enough? Now, those of you with busy lives and children and waking up in the morning and every morning's chaos, and then you've got to get to work and you've got to go through the traffic and you get to work and you've got to deal with your managers and your people, and then you get back home and we forget this time out, the sanctuary time. The sanctuary time. And when you find the sanctuary, please make sure the sanctuary is one of health. Because a lot of people will create sanctuaries in a bottle. I need my drink. I'm now chemically inspired. Yes, that's my sanctuary. No, it's not, right? It's an artificial sanctuary. So finding this relationship with self seems to be an important part of this process. So effective followers understand the importance of relationship. Effective followers never ever take it personally. Effective followers realize that the attainment of a vision is not a singular event, it's a collective. So find your allies. Work with people in authority. Acknowledge and work with those that are going to be casualties in the system. There always are. You could be one of them one day. Understand that the troublemakers can be at the vanguard of thought. They can be on the cutting edge of the way that we understand what's possible. Be inspired by their bravery. Follow their words. And finally, this connection and relationship with yourself. You know what? We are all making this up as we go along. And we've got to follow a life. And I want to get to the end of my life as you do and look back down and go, now that was a life worth living. Thank you.